lineup for yesterday, you'll notice that both of our childbirth educators were doulas. This is a very often overlapping Venn diagram, childbirth educators and doulas, because doula work involves so much education and childbirth education involves so much hands-on knowledge. So it's nice when you're able to have someone who's both. And that is what Jenna is today. So she's going to be talking to you about childbirth education and what it looks like to try and take a childbirth ed class during these times. So we are inviting Jenna to come and join us. Hello, Jenna.
Hi.
Good to see you.
How are you guys today?
I mean, it's parent trip day, so I'm great.
Yeah.
This has been super fun. So,
yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. We're glad you're here. We're going to disappear and let you talk about childbirth ed.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, as Olivia and Sarah were mentioning, I started my work in perinatal health as a doula. First postpartum, and then I added birth. Full spectrum means that I can help you through anywhere that your reproductive journey might take you. And as I was working as a doula, I saw that there's a lot of great options for childbirth education out there. There's so many different methods, but I believe that there's not one right way to give birth. I really love attending the physiologic births, the births at home, the births where, it's really just allowing the body to do it and there's minimal intervention. I've done a lot of my training was in the hospital because I came through the Mother Tree internship. And so I love seeing what the options are there for people that need them, that, there are high-risk situations. There are babies, there are, all types of situations where people need that medical intervention. And I'm so grateful that we live in a time of the safe and very available C-section. But I saw that as people are preparing for their journey through childbirth, that a lot of times with the education, one, there's so many options, it's a little bit confusing. But then also there's an issue of teaching a certain type of birth. In the hospitals, when you take the classes there, it tends to be that they're teaching about the options that are available that most align with the hospital's protocol. And that's wonderful if that's the type of birth that you're going to have. But then sometimes when people are preparing out of the hospital, maybe they're going with the birth center classes that are available to them, or they are, I love hypnobabies and hypnobirthing and birthing from within. These are all great options where maybe they're learning specific coping mechanisms. But then I've also gotten the call when the birth goes a different way, or I've helped people process their birth experience and talking about how if their childbirth education did not include what happens when you're transferred to the hospital, even though you're planning an out-of-hospital birth. What happens when things shift gears and now it's time for the C-section. And if your childbirth education doesn't prepare you well, people get blindsided. There's a potential for more trauma. It's just something that, it's another thing that is part of the healing process of birth. And so our childbirth education series, I am so happy that I get to teach with Marnelli of Hanau Doula. She's such a great counterbalance to me, and I've really enjoyed what we've built together. What we're trying to do is drawing upon my experience as, I'm Lamaze and ICEA trained. I've done organic birth trainings. I have not gotten the Hypno Doula certification, but I've taken the Hypnobabies teacher education training. I followed this background, and Marnelli, what she brings is the evidence-based birth training, which I love, and she has the experience as also, a certified Hypno Doula, that we can bring all this experience, and we're trying to teach about all of your options. not, the right or the wrong way, but what are your options for giving birth here in Portland now? How you can prepare well with lots of coping mechanisms that are on the side of like, what can you start at home? What can you do with your partner? Non-medical coping techniques, also, of course, what a doula can bring to that. And then wherever your birth location is, what else do they offer you there that you can incorporate with those non-medical coping techniques, so that you feel prepared and you have access to the medical tools as well. And then talking about preparing well for, if it's just about childbirth, if it does not include the postpartum training, it's so hard to educate people on what they need postpartum. After they've had a baby, it has to be part of your prenatal preparation. And so we put together a 5-week series. The first week is stages of labor, where we talk about really the anatomy and the physical, getting a baby out of your body. What does that entail? The second week is states of labor, where we talk about hormones, the difference between that physiological birth or the induced or augmented labor. And we talk about so much of it comes down to stress and how that can inhibit labor, and what we can do to help you feel safe, comfortable, and unobserved, and allow your oxytocin to do what it can do to, your body knows how to do this. And then the third week, we talk specifically about coping skills for labor. So meditation and mindfulness, massage for labor, positioning, that's about, the movement and the position the birthing person is in, but also about getting the baby, encouraging that the fetal positioning to be, the best position that you guys can possibly get into. Usually means that the baby is able to descend a little bit faster, and it's a little bit less physically intense for the birthing person. And then the fourth week, that is newborn care. So Marnelli and I have tons of experience as postpartum doulas. I like to say I have my 10,000 hours of baby holding. So we talk to you about, how do you read your baby's cues? Like, your baby is talking to you. They want to tell you what they need, but if you don't have that experience and you don't know how to interpret their cues, that can be, the source of frustration. That just a little bit of understanding goes a long way to help new parents gain confidence and feel like they can, give their child what it needs. We also talk about soothing, so, talking about the 5 S's, and, how to do, your take on the 5 S's. It's also really important to go over, things like diapering and how to swaddle, and just the care and keeping of a newborn human. It's hard stuff, but some good practice in our class. And then we also, in the 5th week, it's about postpartum preparation. So that's more about the family preparing to welcome this new life and how that's going to change people, how that changes the relationship between co-parents, how the family and the extended community can best support a new family that is, it's a newborn baby and a newborn family. So I think the 5-week series is really helpful to give people, a lot of preparation so that they can really, take charge of their birth and have the birth experience that will be best for them, whatever that may be. We also allow people to just sign up for 1 class at a time. So it's $225 for the whole series, or you can take, if you're getting really good childbirth education and you just need to take newborn care, you can take that for $50. Or a lot of people, when it's not their first birth, they don't feel like they need to go over all of the mechanics, but like the coping skills class is really helpful as just a refresher, if it's been a couple of years since the last time you gave birth. So it's, I think our series is really fun. We laugh a lot. It gives people a lot of information to start preparing their type of birth. And then we can also help people beyond that if they find that they need more education on something, or maybe that changes what they didn't know about some of the options. And when they hear about the options out there, they decide they want to go another direction. Marnelli and I, because of our experience level and because we are full-time doulas, we can help carry people beyond just the class. And so whether that means placenta encapsulation or belly binding, whether that means postpartum care coming over, whether that means referring out to the wider community. This is my third time doing the parent trip, and so and all these great other providers out there, but also like beyond that, Marnelli is also a parent, and she's been on this journey herself. But so that connection through the longer path of your parenthood journey. So yeah, let's see if there are. Oh no one has any questions for me.
I have a question for you.
At all.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like McCartney beat me to it. McCartney says, if people aren't pregnant, can they still take that course?
Yeah, of course. So we have had people sit on the course who, one, they are other doulas or perinatal professionals. We've had people who, I've had people attend the class who their sister was giving birth in another city, and they were planning to go and support them. Also grandparents, especially for like the newborn care or the postpartum planning. If that's something where, they maybe need a refresher because it's been 30 years since they had a baby. They were an expert in their baby, but there's a lot of new science since the time that they were raising a child. And so, yeah, you don't have to be a parent or currently pregnant to take the class.
Great. Awesome. The question I was going to ask you is, I heard you comment, you made a reference to the 5 S's of soothing. And I was just hoping you could explain what those 5 are for people who might not know.
Yeah, so the 5 S's, this is a concept, so it comes from the book Happiest Baby on the Block by Dr. Harvey Karp. It's a great book, but it boils down to this idea that human babies are born early, developmentally. Like other mammals, when they give birth, like the little foal is born and then they get up and run away. Our babies developmentally, because of the size of our skull and the size of our pelvis, they need to be born what for other mammals is premature. And so during the first 3 months outside the womb, babies really, they still want to be in the womb. And if you can recreate the environment there in the womb, that's how you soothe a newborn baby. So what does that mean? That means when you swaddle a baby, you're not wrapping them up in a blanket because they're cold. What you're doing is providing the feeling of restriction and really being enveloped and held by their parent. And so you make it as taut as the birthing parent's stomach is at the end of pregnancy. That means, so the first S is swaddle. The second S is shush. So shushing. That means that you're not going, shh, shh, little baby, when they're screaming. You're recreating a sound that's in the womb, which is up to 80 decibels, which is this, like the volume of a vacuum cleaner. And so you can, if you're going to soothe a baby, it's making that high-pitched white noise. So it's like, and louder if the baby is really screaming. So swaddle, shushing. It's swinging, but it's sort of like a little jiggle. It's like a little shake that you just jiggle your baby. It's really, you're giving your baby a little jiggle, right? And then when you're soothing a baby, stomach or sideline position is really soothing to a baby. So you can jump like this, right? So they're on their tummy, never down to sleep on their stomach, but that's very soothing. Or holding the baby just like this. This is like the power move. This is why I make a lot of money as a doula. And then, so we have swaddle, shushing, the swing or the shake, stomach or side lying, and then suck. Babies inside the womb, they are constantly sucking on the amniotic fluid, on their hands and feet, on the umbilical cord. And so to not have something to suck on. Yes, sometimes it's a hunger cue, but often they just want something to suck on. And so you can help them find their own hand. You can give them a little finger to suck on. You can, of course, help them latch. And that is helpful in several ways where it's comforting. The stomach between the esophagus and the sphincter between the esophagus and the stomach is very weak, so it keeps down acid. And it helps calm them down, like on the nervous system level. So yeah, that's what we talk about when we do the 5 S's in our class, but then we also give people a chance to see it in videos and practice, especially that swaddle. That swaddle is a big part of newborn care. If you can get that down, you're like halfway there.
Yeah, that's so true. Kate just commented and said, so helpful, and I completely agree. So thank you, Jenna.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us and have a good day.
Thanks for having me. You guys have a great day too.
Okay.
Right.
Bye.
Here is Jenna's info for all of you who want to follow up. Keep track of those classes and other tips that she might share.